Do you know if his goals long term are to get involved in MMA? And if so, do you think that's a avenue that a guy going from a pure BJJ background can transition to well, especially given the reputation of the drug use in BJJ relative to MMA? Competitively in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it seems to be one of the most drug-ridden
Oh my God.
sports.
Oh my God. It's worse than MMA.
Oh
It's
yeah,
worse than MMA. You
yeah,
got guys going in like local tournaments, blue belt level, and they're jacked out of their mind and they're wrestling some little kid. It's like, it makes no sense.
yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. And the thing is, their jiu-jitsu is ugly. Like, to me, when I see their jiu-jitsu, it's just tough. It's just brutish. It's not sophisticated at all, but they don't know it. They think their jiu-jitsu is the same as that other guy. Why? Because it's effective. There's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, there's a guy named Paul Harris in our sport, MMA. Okay. He would just drop down, grab a guy's ankle and rip it off. Now, the guy was effective, but his jiu-jitsu was not sophisticated, in my opinion. It was good, but it wasn't as refined as other practitioners. Now, I always said, in my opinion, I thought he was on PEDs. Then later on, he got busted. He got busted on PEDs. Why? Because the way he's torquing the ankle is not correct, but the ankle still broke. Yeah, but it won't work for you if you're not as torqued as him, if you're not as jacked and powerful as him. I wouldn't trust that. Like, if you grab my ankle, I would tap because the guy's strong enough. Doesn't mean he knows how to maximize leverage. That's a whole other topic.
What do you think about guys like, are you familiar with Gordon Ryan? He's like one of the
Of course, I've trained with him for many years. He's actually, I know him very well.
So, like, what do you think about, I don't know what his goals are specifically, because I know he's dealing with a lot of GI issues right now, trying to just get back to work, like being able to train properly and, compete at a high level again. I don't know. Do you know if his goals long term are to get involved in MMA? And if so, do you think that's a avenue that a guy going from a pure BJJ background can transition to well, especially given the reputation of the drug use in BJJ relative to MMA?
Well, we're both black belts under John Danaher. Okay, so I grew up training under John, and then Gordon's like the generation after.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know him well. I know him since he's very young. He's a very, very intelligent guy. If he puts his mind to MMA, he can do it, especially with John in his corner, John Danaher, which is, in my opinion, the greatest jiu-jitsu mind ever. He's changed the face of jiu-jitsu. He's created so many innovations. All the trends of jiu-jitsu today are, a lot of them come from him. A lot, not all, but a lot. If he really puts his mind to it, he can go very far. Will he do it? Because in my opinion, he's making so much and doing so well in jiu-jitsu right now that to start back at the bottom of the totem pole might not be something that's financially the best, because right now he's at the top of the jiu-jitsu world. He's arguably the greatest jiu-jitsu guy ever, Gordon Ryan. And I think he could cement that and just, be that legend in the sport.
Not directly comparable, because obviously Askren did compete in another like MMA league, and he wasn't like, a pure, like he wrestled was his main kind of like vector of, beating guys, but he sort of had like a similar kind of situation where he was like the peak of his smaller niche. And then when he went into the big leagues, it didn't exactly work out well for him, and it probably like besmirched his career, to some extent. Do you think that's a potential risk for Gordon Ryan that may sway his decision to?
Yeah, because what the thing is, MMA, it there are more complicated things in MMA. MMA, there's striking, and the thing is, I'm sure he could figure out striking. I'm sure he can get really sophisticated with striking. But the thing is, with striking, it also has a lot more to do with natural ability and your ability to absorb a shot. Now, here's the thing: we never know. You never know by looking at a guy how well he could take a shot, because obviously you don't want to take shots, but you're gonna take shots. You got to make your peace with that. If you're gonna fight MMA, there's no guy in the sport who went to the highest level who never got hit. Now, some guys have great jaws and some guys have glass jaws. If you go into another sport and you find out you have a glass jaw, well, guess what? It's gonna be really complicated to make it to the top. So there's a lot of question marks. We don't know. So there's been some guys who've made the transition and it didn't go well. Like, for instance, I'll give you a great example. Marcelo Garcia, arguably the greatest jiu-jitsu guy ever. He tried to make a transition to MMA. It didn't go well for him. But why? He just never took to the striking. Why? That's kind of complicated. It just didn't go well for him. And he In one of his fights, he takes a guy down on the ground and gets his back. So he's in the best jiu-jitsu position you could be in, and he couldn't finish the guy for like 8 minutes, where usually he only takes a handful of seconds to tap somebody out from that position. What was the difference? If I put that guy with Marcelo Garcia in that position on the mat in a grappling scenario, he would choke him out. It wouldn't take long. I guarantee you it. However, in an MMA scenario, it wasn't working for him. Why? In my opinion, it was the stress of maybe getting stood back up, the stress of like, being in a new environment, trying to process what's going on. The guy's kind of punching you at the same time. He's not reacting the same way as a jiu-jitsu guy. So there are all these unknowns that we don't know until we get them in the water, so to speak. We got to get them in the water and see, because a lot of the guys also buckle under the pressure. I'm not saying Gordon would or would not. I don't know. That's what I want to find out. Because that guy across the ring from me is allowed to hit me as hard as he wants. There's a psychological pressure and reality that people don't know unless they fought.
Yeah.
When you're sitting down on the couch watching a fight, I always tell people people always like, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that?
I would love to see you in that position.
You feel the pain and fatigue he's feeling right now.
Yeah.
Like I wish, there's a virtual reality where you pick a fighter and you're going to feel whatever that guy's feeling, the fear he's feeling, the nerves, his legs are numb. He got hit in the jaw. Maybe his jaw's cracked. Maybe he got hit to the body. His rib is really out of place. And he can barely breathe. That all affects the decisions he's making. People are like, it's so obvious. You just should have shot a takedown. It's like, dude, it ain't that easy. Maybe he was worried about the knee. Maybe he got hit with an elbow. Sometimes guys get hit in the octagon and people don't really notice because it's not them getting hit, but that guy got tagged.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys get tagged with a little elbow. People think it's not much, but look at the way the guy's reacting. It is actually something. So people don't know it. Fighting is very complicated, man. And that's why when I see people in the street starting a fight, I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're getting into. Let's try to walk. Let's try to part ways, man. Fighting is a dangerous thing, man. You don't want to be fighting. It's not something you should take lightly. I've seen people get really, really hurt in fights, really hurt badly.
Do you know what Gordon's goals are by chance? Like you're relatively familiar with them? Obviously.
I know ultimately he wanted to do MMA. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I think he's having so much. It's jiu-jitsu so hot for him right now. He's selling instructionals. He's the number one instructional. Him and John and they're doing amazing there. I think they should just I think they're probably just gonna dominate the jiu-jitsu world, make their mark as the greatest jiu-jitsu team ever. And that's something that I think is just as important as the UFC world title for them, because it's really, they're at the forefront of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It's really, really special because he's a no-gi guy. Because, before they used to tell us you have to do the gi. Gordon is the first no-gi guy to beat all the gi guys.
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi. Like he didn't just beat them, he just crushed them. Like he's devastated the no-gi world. And now he's basically he's almost creating a divide like judo and wrestling. Imagine there was a time where judokas with the gi would take it off and win all the wrestling tournaments. And now they can't. The guys who were freestyle wrestling their whole career. You never see a judo guy win in freestyle Olympic gold. Okay. You never see it, okay? Doesn't exist. The objective is the same. Put you on your back, throw you. But you have a gi, that changes the entire game. In jiu-jitsu, it was medley together for a while. But John and me would always say, look, that's going to change over time because they're two different worlds. To learn the gi, there's an opportunity cost.
Right.
And because there are things that don't work with the gi and no gi. So anyways, basically, no gi and gi are about to break paths in jiu-jitsu. And Gordon and John are a big part of that break. Because Gordon's not known for gi. He doesn't do gi. He's never won a world title in gi. He's the first guy to go to that level without the gi.
Right.
Like legendary status. All the other legends had championships in gi also. The sport is changing. Jiu-jitsu is growing. Mark my words, one day jiu-jitsu will be the most dominant sport in MMA. Again, like it was in the past. Okay. Jiu-jitsu is innovating and growing at such a rapid rate. It's the youngest of the sports. So boxing's been around forever. Muay Thai's been around forever. Wrestling's been around forever. It's so refined. There's no room for wacky innovations. Jiu-jitsu is so young. What we're doing today is so different than what we were doing 5 years ago. The guillotines we were doing 5 years ago were lame compared to what we're doing today. The takedowns, the arm bars, everything has changed. All the subs have become more sophisticated. All the entries, the sliding into the legs, into leg. Of course, the leg locks have taken a major leap in innovation. the future of jiu-jitsu is looking super bright. There's gonna be a day where you if you touch a jiu-jitsu guy, you try to take him down, he's gonna sub you right away. The innovations are coming fast.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see where it goes. I don't know. Like, you think, like, obviously, objectively, I don't have enough experience to really make a comment on it, but it seems like if you're at the peak of your sport and then you try to go to something you could high risk as hell and completely compromise like everything you've worked towards potentially, like, I don't know, is it worth all the brain damage and shit too, potentially?
Maybe they make him an offer, a contract that secures, this is what you would have made in jiu-jitsu. Well, here's a contract that's, a little more than that. Come into our sport. It could be, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe he makes so much money. He's like, hey, let me take a crack at MMA. But I think it's not just money, it's a status. John and Gordon are doing something extremely special in jiu-jitsu. They're really like re-innovating jiu-jitsu.